Hi, and welcome to Real Trail Talk. I am Donovan D'Souza from The Long Ways Better.
And I'm Mark Pybus from The Life of Pi. Welcome to episode 53 and part 2 of our Dream Bibbulmun discussion. So if you haven't listened to part 1, go and do that first, because I'm not sure why you're here if you haven't.
Maybe you just don't like the northern half and just want to go straight to the second.
So we finished at Donnelly River. We've got Steve Sertis from the Bibbulmun Track Foundation and Bonny, aka Bronwyn, from Friendly Dropbear. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
Returned.
It's always good to come back.
It's like you never left.
So yeah, we're talking Dream Bibbulmun, and I guess we're Donnelly River to Albany. This is a very, very good section. I know Donnelly River to Pemberton I've put no change because I like it so much. What are you guys' thoughts? Where would you align this differently?
I had one change because, like you, I love this section, and this is probably my second favorite section of the whole track. But there's one day that annoys me, and that is between Beavis and Beetle Up. There's this bit where it goes through regrowth carry, and in the book it's really ridiculous. It's just like left turn
right. No, it's turn right,
turn right,
turn
turn
right,
right,
turn
turn
right,
right.
turn right. But you don't go in a spiral. You somehow end up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I hate that section because the understory just doesn't look right. It looks like regrowth, and it's just not grown back the right way. So that's the only thing I'd change is I'd say, well, can we get some single file walking track through here or through somewhere else? Otherwise, I'm very happy with this section. If you can just fix up that day, then this is perfect.
I would change heading out of Donnelly River. I feel like there's too much road walking and not enough near the river. Like I feel like you could get to the river a bit earlier or just utilise the river scenery a bit better.
The only change I would make is to, because we had lots of money, reinstate the bridges. So between One Tree Bridge and Chapels, what used to be part of the original track, part of what was known as the Seven Bridges Trail. So instead of going up all those hills away from the river, you'd actually constantly cross the river all the way to Chapels. Other than that, I'd leave it the same until Pemberton. Yeah, I've got some major changes from there on.
Well, we may as well get stuck in. What's the major changes?
I don't know how exactly, but I'd try and keep the Gloucester Tree and the Cascades, but then head out towards the One River National Park. So
yeah,
okay,
the
so we're
campsites
talking about
along there. So
you've got into Pemberton. This is leaving Pemberton.
This is
now.
leaving
Okay.
Pemberton. I did think about picking it up from Carry Valley, north of Pemberton, because there used to be that old loop that used to do that. But I thought, no, head into Pemberton first and then head out to the National Park, the Warren River.
Yeah, I've got that as well. So I would keep Gloucester Tree and then to the Cascades.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is actually a forested section you could reach to get to the Warren River and then incorporate that loop somehow.
Yep.
And then from there, instead of going into Northcliffe via the current route, I'm heading out towards the dunes and the coast. Because I think that is an area that people probably don't know exists in WA.
Absolutely.
And I think that would be really cool to visit.
I've got that as a spur, like the old track used to have, heading out to the Yagerup dune system.
I'd stayed along the Warren River, but there's a lot of ups and downs there that seem pointless because the views, it's so thick.
yes, I agree.
And I would say just bring it closer to the river because I don't feel like the Warren you have the same relationship that you do with the Donnelly, where I feel like the alignment there is so perfect because you feel attached to the river. And it feels sad when you leave the Donnelly River. Whereas the Warren, it's like I can take it or leave it in the way that it's aligned currently.
Yeah, I like the Warren River and I like that section, but I do agree there's a lot of, and I feel differently to how I do about, say, the Murray River, but with this section I feel like it goes up and down and up and down, but you don't get amazing views, like it feels more enclosed, and there's some really nice spots for a swim and it's very nice along there, but it would be better if it was down lower closer to the river. But I was also going to say I would love it if you could somehow get the Bibbulmun to go through Warren National Park, because that is my favourite Carry Forest area. It's so beautiful.
So looking at the alignment, it's very messy getting back into Northcliffe from the west if you go out to the coast. But I think that would be worth it because, I mean, essentially it's a 3-day section. for the last day and a half, you're nowhere near the Warren River, and that's kind of like what you're there for.
Yeah.
So as much as I like Schaefer Dam, I think that whole day into Northcliffe could be replaced
Yeah,
if
that-
you
agreed.
head to the dunes and maybe extend it a little bit.
That day is a really rubbish day. There's very little that is appealing about it.
It's just an A to B day.
It's an A to B day, exactly. And for that reason, like I hadn't thought of going to the dunes. I thought that was too far, but I think that that's probably nicer than... I would give up the Warren River and do sort of more like go to Warren at Warren National Park and then head down your way. I think that's a nicer way.
Well, that's what I had. I had it going to Warren National Park and
Yeah.
the loop area there, and then heading to the dunes.
Yep. And
Yeah,
then just
I love
completely
that idea.
skip the Schaefer area.
Because it's
I
3
hadn't
days
thought of
between
that, but
town
that's
to town, so
fantastic.
you can add distance in.
Yes.
It's not a big issue here.
Really good idea.
But yeah, as I said, getting back into town is very messy.
Mm.
So we're all going through Northcliffe. Leaving Northcliffe, does anyone take it a different way?
Yep.
Other than cleaning up the exit out of town?
Yeah, I'd actually pick up some of the old alignment and head out to Lanepool Falls.
Perfect.
To
Yeah.
Barara that way.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I wouldn't go to Gardner.
Because someone recently posted in one of the Facebook groups, they posted old photos, and they slept in the hut at Barura, and I was like, I didn't know the track went out there. That'd be really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that was the southern terminus for 10 years.
And there's like a really massive granite dome that's right near there as well, that used to have a trail up it, but then it got burnt and they just didn't bother ever fixing it. That would be kind of cool to have that, because I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities for granite exploration between Northcliffe and Walpole.
Yeah.
And this is the section that I think has the most room for improvement.
But we'd keep Marin Road, right?
Skipping ahead, Steve. I can see the fire in his eye already.
So I think if you can follow the old alignment, how would you get back then to like the dog pool and marrying up and all that?
Yeah, so from Barara Tree, I would head straight to... I'd cut back in to southwest, so not to Gardner, but I'd head back in toward Lake Marrinup through that direction through there. So you still cross Chesapeake Road, keep Lake Marrinup itself, and then head up toward Dogpool. But yeah, not Gardner. I'll just skip that.
So in the things that I said that we would do here is we would boardwalk the whole thing, so there's no winter closure, and people think, oh, that's so expensive, but Tasmania do that. You know, they have any sections that's waterlogged on their trail, they'll just be like, we'll just build boardwalk.
That's true.
And I think that Western Australia just needs to, in the future, that they are completely behind spending $100,000 a kilometre.
But then we'd also have less road walking, because that's another thing in Tasmania is just heaps and heaps of single track.
Yeah,
But if we cut down all the pine plantations, there's your boardwalk.
exactly.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, it will mean that DBCA will have to be a lot more careful in how they do their prescribed burns.
Yep.
But look, it happens in the sclerophyll forest in Tasmania. They're just very careful whenever there's boardwalk. So I think if you could boardwalk through here, it would fix up, because I think it's a real shame that in the peak wildflower season, when people come here, that a lot of people miss out on going to Lake Marrinup because of the closure every
I think
year.
that's a real shame as well. And I'm also, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm slightly sceptical. But how bad is the water? Is it just...
It's about the Gardner River, so we've had walkers get swept away.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
So it's
it can be
bad.
pretty dangerous.
Oh,
yeah.
what about it? Like instead of kind of like the Erwin Inlet canoes, but what about whitewater rafts?
Yeah, you'd get to Lake Marrinup
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Just have drones that pick them up and take them back. But that's going to be actually a problem, because I had the track following the Gardner River. Instead of leaving it and going to Lake Marrinup, you follow that all the way to the ocean, and then you walk along that beach to where the hut is at the moment, and then
Yeah.
you
Cut
walk
back
back
in.
towards Lake Marrinup. So instead of...
More closures.
I can't even think of the
think,
beach. Mandalay Beach. So instead of Mandalay Beach being your introduction to the ocean, it's more now near Lake Marrinup.
Yeah, I was thinking something kind
Yeah.
of similar to that as well, but I was going to suggest a spur trail, down to Windy Harbour, along the beach, and then up past the Cood something hut, whatever it's
Coodamarrup.
called, Coodamarrup, and then through Marringup and up to Northcliffe.
Yeah, I sort of had two thoughts. One was that you keep the current alignment for like a least change version, and then a dramatic change would be that you go the other side, you close road access and fine any of the pig hunters who like to use the hut with severe fines, especially the ones who chop down the trees to make bonfires. Yeah. And then that becomes your introduction to the coast.
My hesitancy at making it go to the coast before Mandalay Beach. Is there something really special about Mandalay Beach and Chatham's Island?
I agree, but there's something very not special about the track from there going to through some of those areas there.
What, Marin Road?
Yes.
But then
I
also,
like
like,
Northcliffe to Waltham.
from Lake Marringup, you can hear the ocean,
Yes.
so it is a bit of a tease that you can't just go there.
That's very true.
Yes and no, but I find that kind of cool. It's like really sort of, there's something about it just really mysterious, and like you can hear the ocean. It's got a mystique about it that I quite like. And then you see the ocean a few days later, and it's like the ocean is such a big deal.
So where would you go from Lake Marringup if you've come off the beach?
So I'd go to Lake Marringup and follow the alignment
Existing?
as it is now to Dogpool. The only note I made is you'd get off Dog Road.
Yep.
That is a horrible stretch of 6 kilometres. And
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
have it go through the forest on a single
No,
track.
I'd say before Dog Road, because there's a lot of road walking. I love the section leaving Marringup to Chesapeake Road East. Really like that. If you could somehow keep that single trail a bit further. And I
actually
don't
mind.
dislike the road walking, but it doesn't feel
It's really open,
wilderness.
and then you
Yeah.
get that one spot and you've got a nice shady section of trees and you can see the granite little domes. I like walking in between them.
Yeah.
So I would keep that, and then just as you get to the forest near Dogpool, just go into it.
One thing I wondered about, and I don't want to change this section too much, so I actually really enjoy it. Like, I do understand your
Hatred.
I understand your hatred of Marin Road, but I'm like, oh, whatever. It's A to B. I'll happily walk that. So I love Mount Chance, Woolbales, Pingerup. But one thing that I've wondered about, and I'm of two minds about this, but I look out from Woolbales Hill at that view, and there's something about that view that is just magical and amazing, and it makes me think about what is that coastline like from, say, Gardner River mouth to Mandalay, and how amazing could that be?
The only thing about taking it there is you've got so much coast then from Walpole to Albany.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you want to keep as much of the Carry Forest and Pingerup Plains.
Yeah,
as you
that's why I'm
can.
of two minds, because the Pingerup Plains there's something really special about that to me. It's very different from anywhere else in the southwest that you drive to. Like if you're not a hiker, you'd never know that entire ecosystem is there, really.
It's something that because one of my thoughts, because of how much I despise sections through here, I even thought at one stage early on of having a more Mundabidi style alignment where it goes through the forest. But you're right, the problem is that would be more of the same, and you end up being in Carry Forest for like just forever.
Yeah. I love the Carry Forest, but I think the Pingerup Plains is an important part of the Bibbulmun Track.
Yeah.
But my criticism or my improvement would not be so much saying don't go through the Pingerup Plains at all. It would be saying just minimise the road walking a bit, because as much as I love it, it feels in some ways like the wildest, most remote part of the track, and in other ways not, because there's so much roads.
Exactly, that's how
And
I
feel
feel
like
about
it could be so much better.
From Dogpool, where obviously you're going to stay on Marin Road.
No, so what happens is where there's that dam, and there's like the high wall where it drops down into the pool, and then there's like a bit across.
Yeah.
You cross at that lower thing, and then you follow the river and go to the cascades that are on the map, but yet are foolishly ignored in the current alignment, and you completely ignore Marin Road.
That sounds really good. And I'd also say get rid of the concrete monstrosity bridge and have a nice rustic wooden one, please.
So my only thoughts walking down Marin Road is how easy the walking would be if you took it on a single trail, and how flooded it would get.
It will probably
at
get
all.
pretty flooded.
Then
but
you
if
have
there's no
boardwalk.
budget.
Well,
you
yeah,
have
because if you
boardwalk.
follow the Shannon River, I think it'd be quite nice. And I would
Yeah.
actually follow it all the way to Pingerup Road, and I would have Pingerup Road in there, maybe just off. But there is quite a bit of swampy area there.
I don't mind the swamps.
So
You
this
haven't-
is
you haven't chimed
See,
in
I'm-
yet, Steve.
My alignment is a bit more radical. So I too would follow the Shannon River, but not south. I'd follow it north.
okay.
So I'm actually heading back up towards the Shannon National Park, and I'm not quite sure how, but from the national park I'd cross the highway and loop around, curve around, and get onto the Deep River and follow all the way down to Fernhook
That's a good idea.
Falls,
Yeah.
a bit further south, and cross back in time for Mount Chance.
Okay.
Oh,
And so you
that's
still get a
cool.
taste of the Pingarup Plains,
Yeah.
but you're missing a lot of that other stuff, but making more use of the Shannon.
Mm.
And potentially then the Shannon National Park site is a food drop point. People coming
Yeah.
past, it's another access point that way. Risking, not making it as wild because you're getting back into car camping area, but picking it up through there. I love Fernhook Falls, that kind of area through there.
I like
That's where
Fernhook Falls, but I do feel like you can drive there.
you can.
And for me, one of the good things about the Pingarup Plains is its remoteness.
Yeah.
So I can see what you're getting at, but I would choose probably to keep it.
Yeah,
No
I would
highway
kind
crossing.
of agree with you because my dislike of it is the road walking. If you
Yeah, me
took
too.
that aspect out of it, I'd probably like this section a lot more. And this is in this dream future. It's the West Australian government is basically like the New South Wales government and the Tasmanian government, where they're prepared to spend $100,000 to $300,000 a kilometre per trail. So that's where we're at.
We'll get back to that section a little later, Steve, because I have my diversion out of Walpole going
okay.
in a different direction. So we all kind of keep the Pingarup Plains as an experience, and
Yeah.
Mount Chance, Woolbales, that area.
Wheelbales, Long Point.
But goes over the wool bales. Goes over
Yeah.
all of them.
See, I had mine before then, going to the inlet, following the Broke Inlet River,
Yep.
and then heading back towards Woolbales and still looping around.
Yeah, I like that idea.
The only thing about that is how flooded that would get in spring.
For me, I don't care about it getting flooded. I don't mind doing a bit of wading. That's part of the character of that section. So I'm not concerned. And if there's a section where you might get swept away, just put some whitewater rafts.
Okay. So Woolbales getting to Mandalay, is there any changes there? Because it's kind of a bit of a hard section just to beeline straight to the coast.
Yes, can we please get rid of the road down to Mandalay Beach and just make it for hikers only? Or is that not feasible?
No? Well, I've actually got it going
That's the
west of Mandalay Beach. So there's the
Yeah.
Banksia campsite
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So that's where you enter, and then you get more beach walking before
That
you
would
then
be good.
exit. Because I think it's a bit sad that this is the first time you see the ocean, and you're on it for the
5
beach
minutes.
for 5 minutes,
Yep.
and then you're off again.
My only problem with Mandalay Beach is an absolutely stunning beach, but my problem with it is it's like a vehicle access point. When I'm hiking, I'm a bit of a snob about those car people, even though when I'm not hiking, I'm a car person too. But I just want everything to be like maintain the illusion of wildness.
So when you see the elderly couple or like the tourists come out and you've got your big backpack on and you're having a sit down and they're like, oh, so where have you come? I was like, this is like my 5th day or 6th day of walking. They're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go back in the car, and they'll be back in Walpole in like 10 minutes.
I think we've had this chat because you both don't like this is something that really irks you, but for me it just doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't bother me anywhere near as much as like burnt forest does. Like, I'm quite happy.
Don't mind seeing people.
Oh yeah, I don't.
I
That
don't
doesn't
like-
bother
well,
me.
I'm,
Depends where it is though.
a bit
Mandalay,
misanthropic, but I don't like seeing people out of the context that I'm in. Like, I'm not saying I don't like people, but
I have more of a problem of people at the Treetop Walk rather than Mandalay
No,
Beach.
see, I'm the opposite.
So-
I
No, I don't have a
revel in
problem.
being there because they're like, you're kind of watching them and they're enjoying their holidays and they're meant to be there. But like when you're in the middle of nowhere and they've just driven there, that's where I have the problem. So Mandalay to Long Point. Is anyone changing that alignment?
just more cliff top walking.
Less dunes.
Yes, I would get rid of that
Yeah.
first dune coming off Mandalay.
Oh, that's
Oh,
That's a
steep
killer.
one.
I quite like in springtime when the flowers are out. It's really, really beautiful through there. Like
Still
through.
really hard going
Yeah.
up there.
Oh no, that doesn't bother me. If there's flowers to look at, and if it's like harsh sun and hard hills and stuff, I don't care. I'll just walk slowly. That's how I see it anyway.
The whole section just feels like it's a lot longer than it
feels-
actually is. I
It
kept
doesn't to
looking
me.
back at my GPS to the map going, wow, I've only gone a kilometre, and it felt like 3.
No, I
Yep.
disagree. I love the section as you're passing Lost Beach. Just stay above the cliffs a lot more because it's spectacular along there. And this is my big criticism of the coastal section of the Bibbulmun in general, is it goes away from the cliffs too much. And that's just my personal preference. I love cliff top coastal walking. Maybe other people feel differently.
Yeah, and I've got it heading towards the cliffs a bit more.
Yeah. One of the things that I said was I would definitely remove that very, very, very long spur trail.
Yeah, and have it
and just have it
come
drop
down.
into the campsite.
That's what I was
I
thinking
didn't find
too.
it that long. Probably because you'd warned me about it. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going down here for another 10 minutes.
The length
or
of the
so.
spur trail doesn't bother me. I couldn't care less, really. It's going away from the coast, which is the absolute... That's like the main point of that
Yeah.
section is
Yeah.
the coastal views.
Well, that's where the next day's alignment is more radical.
Oh, yeah.
This is
I've
one of-
got some big changes
Yeah,
for the next
same.
day's
So,
alignment.
this is probably my most radical change, is to take it through to Noit's Wilderness and along all that coastline, which is outstanding through there,
Sure is.
and put a hut somewhere in that section. So it adds an extra day, which is maybe not great, but it could even just be an option. It could be like, this is the longer route into town, and it takes you into Noit's Wilderness. Because I was really impressed with the scenery there, but I felt that it was very burnt when I went there.
I think you just attract birds.
Just walk at the wrong
my
time.
change to this section is before that even. I'd say make the official Bibbulmun Track go down to the coastline at Little Long Point. So if you could get the Bibbulmun to go officially down to those rocks above Little Long Point, and then so if you could cross over where the blowhole is and then down onto that beach, there's a couple of headlands and things along it, but you could walk along beautiful, beautiful beach, really wild and amazing. And a walk that I've done, a bunch of friends and I stayed at Long Point and we went out along Big Long Point, and it is spectacular. It's as good as the Bald Head Walk, I reckon, or maybe almost as good. It's amazing. And then you could very easily have a spur trail out to the end. Like, I wouldn't say make the Bibbulmun go to the end and back. That's pointless. There's Hush Hush Beach.
Yeah.
You don't see it. Can we get the Bibbulmun Track to go closer to the coast, above Hush Hush Beach? Have a
Steve?
spur trail down onto it.
Well, my realignment takes you up onto the Hush Hush Ridge, and you
Yeah.
stay up high along that, so you get those views.
As for the Noit's, never know how to pronounce it, Noit's Wilderness.
I've been told it's Nates, as in 8. But
Okay. The
Yeah.
Nate's Wilderness area. It's kind of nice having it separate, but it's also a shame because no one really goes there.
Well, I think that the fire that went through and burnt the entire valley, the reason I think that this happened was because there was no infrastructure there. If there had been a hut there, I think they would have taken care. Instead, they just burned the whole campsite and ruined the whole area.
Sandpatch.
Hopefully it grows back.
Mount Chance, Chedora. Leaving Long Point, I've always wondered, like, you look at the hill, which is the ridge, and you're like, why aren't we going up there? I thought that's where the track went. So to go up there and then, around the Nate's Wilderness area.
I was
and
going to
then-
say walk along the beach after Long Point because you've already got the spur trail going to the coast, so why not continue along that coast to Big Long Point?
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
And then from the Nate's Wilderness, up Mount Hopkins, I've heard there's some really cool tingle areas, like
Yeah.
ancient tingle trees.
And I haven't
there.
been there, but that's on my to-do list for sometime soon is to head back out to Mount Hopkins area and find this gnarled old forest. The one caveat for this whole area is you don't want to spread dieback around.
But I mean, you just put in proper dieback stations and then head from towards the deep river and then follow that back to where it crosses now at the suspension bridge.
I'm similar in the alignment. I'd definitely include the wilderness area there. I don't know why it didn't originally. I haven't been able to find that out. I'm not sure whether it's just they
Well,
didn't
given
want
that
too many
there's-
people going in there. I don't know what it is.
But it's not true. It's called the wilderness, but it's actually not zoned as wilderness. So it's like the fact that they've not allowed people in seems kind of strange. But then also maybe it's just they're too scared of people getting killed because people have died.
Yeah. I'd still include it and head back up to Mount Clare. I definitely wouldn't miss Mount Clare. I thought about doing the head down Circus Beach way and then over to the inlet and then canoes or
I
something
thought of-
like
oh, yeah,
that.
I thought
Or
of canoes
even
as well,
wait
but
for
it's just-
Gary to come out on his boat and pick you
Oh,
up
yeah.
and take you back,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a daily trip every single day, right? So
I think
that's
I thought of the
possible.
canoes, but I thought it's just too far. That's why I thought.
Yeah.
And also, I think Mount Clare is quite nice.
It's your first encounter of the Tingles, apart from anything
Yeah,
in
I
the
wouldn't
Nates
want to
Wilderness,
skip.
but
I wouldn't want to skip Mount
Yeah.
Clare personally.
And
Partly
Gary would
ma-
probably treat you like a seal, like, oh, and there's a Bibbulmun hike, and, like, include
Yeah,
you
he
as part of the
would.
tour.
Yeah.
Here, everyone, I bought you cookies, just throw them. But yeah, I mean, if we're all going up Mount Clare, I mean, there's not really a better way to get into town. It's quite a nice bit. It's just that final section.
Actually, I did have another idea, which is very convoluted but possible, and that's have a canoe crossing at the Donnelly Inlet Channel and walk along Bellinger Beach over the Franklin River around into Walpole. So do a big loop around the inlet, including a canoe crossing, and then you could still head north up to Franklin afterwards, but then you'd also have to skip Mount Clare. And on balance, I'd say I quite like Mount Clare. Not the biggest fan of that last little bit into Walpole after Mount Clare, but heading down past Stronrate Lookout, that's really nice.
So would you skip Walpole, or would that be a spur trail?
No, you need Walpole.
you'd have to, especially having
Yeah.
not really gone through Northwood.
Yeah. Alright, so in Walpole, everyone, I mean, you're not a big fan of the Coal Mine Beach
I
section.
hate the trail out there. I would break up all of the hard ground and make it soft ground. Otherwise, I'm fine with it. It's just painful on the feet, and I just think it should be changed. That's all.
Oh, it's nowhere near as bad as, say, into Albany. But
I think because I walked it in the other way, so
Yeah, maybe.
I hated it more.
Alright, leaving Walpole, is everyone heading along the inlet?
yeah, I don't mind the section Donovan doesn't like. It's that
It's
like,
scenery wise is not
Oh,
a
I know.
problem.
Have a
it's just
boardwalk.
break the
have a boardwalk instead of
ground.
the gravel.
Or some really, really comfortable shoes that you then, people like the canoe sheds just swap them.
Or how about a conveyor belt?
No, it has to still be walking, but I think we need to punish the cyclists. It's because of them that it's been sealed, so pull it out. Okay.
For me, I am actually heading north out of Walpole, not heading along the inlet. I'm going up to Mount Franklin and then looping back via the Franklin River to the Franklin River campsite.
Would you still get the giant tingle in that area? Or would you skip that, but then you'd have a different area of Tingle Forest
You'd
instead?
still see the Tingle Forest, but you wouldn't go through the giant Tingle.
Yeah, I reckon I could do without the giant tingle simply because you can drive there. It's not like you can
And
only
it's not
walk
the
around
only
the
Tingle
Bibbulmun.
that you see
And
as
it's
well.
not, no.
Yeah.
It's cool, but
So I think to get to Mount Franklin,
there's a
and
lot
maybe
of farmland up towards Mount Franklin, isn't there?
you can do it all in forest
Yeah, you can.
and then follow the Franklin River down to the campsite.
Yeah, that could be really cool.
So yeah, if you could include Fernhook Falls in there, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And then you've
It's
got
a fair way north. Though.
I
It
know.
is. Yeah.
It'll add an extra couple of days, but you've got Peaceful Bay as a track town, and sort of. you can do a drop there, and you've got
Yeah.
Yeah. You
can.
basic supplies.
So you'd still keep Franklin, Treetop Walk, Giants, Rainhead.
So that section, no change whatsoever.
I probably would have a probably more minimal change. 'Cause I really love Walpole to Denmark, so I think I'd probably just keep it to Franklin. Happy with the alignment through to maybe take some of those road walking out between Franklin and Giants. There's a little bit through there that could probably be more single file.
Brainy cutoff.
Near Brainy Cutoff, there's a bit. I would destroy that bridge and replace it with a more studded bridge.
Yes, I agree.
And look, if you want to make something that will actually last, I think some of those steel girder bridges look kind of nice and rustic while being long-lived. So, I would remove the concrete bridge because it was a real shock to see it when I did.
What about a flying fox?
But I think part of it is that they've built it so that it can be used by
By cars.
Otherwise, I think a flying fox would be fantastic.
And under the
over there.
Mundabiddy as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're punishing cyclists.
Oh,
remember?
right. Even Mundabiddy cyclists, right? I didn't get that.
Better
bit.
hope you don't take up mountain bike riding.
No,
Dom.
I'm not.
I don't want to punish cyclists because I want to do the Mundabiddy one day.
I am being facetious. I have nothing against cyclists. It's just more that I don't like the Coal Mine Beach Trail, and
Okay.
it's been hardened because of cyclists.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't really want to punish cyclists, but yeah, I think that here, I think just make a steel girder bridge that looks nicer, and then we're good, and then I'm fine with the alignment to Giants.
To Giants I'm fine with. Down to Rame Head, I kind of like it, but I also feel like there's some sort of bits that are a bit meh. I wouldn't say I dislike the section by any means, but it would be nice if it was a bit more single track, feeling like you're in the bush rather than on road.
I feel that section there is like the Pingarup Plains and the Swamp Bottle Brush in that it's a section that is pretty in a different time of year to when most people go. So like I think like Ficafolia Road, when you've got the Ficafolia, when you have the flowering gums through there, like it's really nice.
Yeah.
But that's not when people are hiking, so that's kind of a bit of a shame, because I think when it is probably like a really nice section is when people aren't there. Have you been in that season?
I have, yes. And you're right. When they do flower, it is spectacular.
I think I walked through there last year at the end of the year, like after Christmas, and I was hoping they'd be in flower, and they weren't.
When are they
little bit
generally in
disappointed.
flower?
It's usually later in
little
summer.
bit
But look,
later.
honestly, I've seen them flowering in September. Not all of them, just the occasional tree. Enough to give someone that's never seen it before an idea of what they look like.
Well, I think they've got them in the street at my mum's house anyway. So
They've got
I've
them
seen
just down here, down the road.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
I think it's a necessary evil to get to conspicuous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
However,
thing.
I was going to suggest, or just wonder, proposition the idea of could the track go further west and hit the coast before conspicuous, west of conspicuous, and then walk down the beach, like the full length of the beach, and skip all the tourist riffraff car area.
That doesn't bother me,
Yeah, I
to
actually
be
don't
honest.
mind those stairs and you get the view. I actually think it improves it a little bit.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy the approach to conspicuous beach along that ridge. That's cool.
Also, I
But
like
you
the
just-
section before that ridge where you're going up and down.
Yeah,
There's
I like
lots
Yeah,
that.
I
I like
quite like
going.
that.
Yeah, I
through
like.
there. I don't mind it. It gets a bit flooded, but
Yeah.
I quite like it. And also the section between effectively Nut Lookout and Ficafolia Road, I quite like. The bit where you get to Ficafolia Road and you actually walk along Ficafolia, that's up for realignment.
Oh, good.
So the track's actually going to come out to Ficafolia Road where it crosses. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Where it
Yeah.
joins up the other side. So you're not actually on the road for.
But
you're
just before
crossing it, so-
conspicuous beach, I love that section up through the dense
Yeah,
woodland.
the
and
bulge through there is
Yeah,
amazing.
I like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and heaps of orchids through there. Last time I walked it anyway. Which
And
was
In his
October.
carriage orchids.
And the tires there remind me of like what used to be, because there used to be so much more tires on the Bibbulmun, and I
They
kind of
did.
like that.
They did.
Well, that kind of gets us to Rame Head to Peaceful Bay, and I know everyone probably in the room would prefer the old route.
Yeah.
Closer to the coast.
Radical return to the old.
100%. Like, what a shame that it doesn't go along that
Yep.
coastline anymore.
So Steve, how feasible is this?
I'd love for it to be reinstated the way it was. It just kept getting washed away, and it was just a nightmare. I'm not sure. I think weighing up the problems that we have now with the current alignment and the flooding and whatever's going on there with the washaways, I don't know. I don't know how dangerous it got. I don't know that anyone actually got into trouble. It was more the risk of someone getting into trouble.
So I
And
reckon,
having to replace the markers all the time was the other issue.
yeah, I reckon you could have two routes, saying if you don't want the risk aspect, go the current alignment,
Yeah,
and
sure.
if you accept it and you're okay walking around like rocky headlands and beaches and stuff, then take the
Because
other
it
route.
is spectacular.
Kind of like, Cape to Cape has got the summer and the winter route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that could
Yep.
work.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good compromise.
Around Peaceful Bay, I know the walk up to the tip isn't fantastic.
I
Any
just take
alignment
it
changes?
along the beach and then up the inlet channel, I reckon. And I wouldn't say I hate that section. It's okay, apart from the terrible puddle crossing, which made me cross. Other than that, it's fine.
But
I
how
think it
long
would
does
be-
this day become, though, if we start going that way?
Oh,
'Cause
it's
it's
not that
already
much longer.
24 Ks. I think if you went along, they're probably going to be close to 30 Ks. If
Along-
you're going,
along the
if you're going
beach?
like that, rather than the more, because like I can see that
Do you
it's
think it
more
cuts off that
Yeah, I
much?
think I think it's more expedient the way it's gone. And while I don't often support expedience, I don't know how much more people could do in a day.
All right, the solution there then is to have perhaps an extra campsite.
Steve?
Yes. So, my wish for this section, Peaceful Bay to Denmark, was always to have the extra campsite. So, you'd have the 3 campsites instead of just the 2. So it'd be a 4-day section, which would make it easier. Then you could, play with it a bit more in terms of the alignment. The problem we currently have with the Irwin Inlet is that some people do take the beach or some people take the track and at some point change their mind. And that's where we get erosion coming in because they just take shortcuts up and down dunes and what have you. So particularly people who take the track, and you used to come out right above the Irwin mouth.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, and there used to be a lot of erosion. People just going, well, the sandbars form, I'll just walk across there. I'm not going to go all the way and do the canoes, then come back out, and they miss the showgrounds and what have you. So you've got to be careful how you do it. It's certainly possible. I don't know. So if you took a route up along the beach from Peaceful Bay to the inlet mouth, you'd have to be careful about how you'd rejoin the track to pick up the canoes.
However, this is dream
Yeah,
utopia, so we could have a staircase. Not that I like.
Well, staircase doesn't have to be dream
staircases, but-
utopia. That's possible.
Plenty of those.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, my alignment doesn't change a whole lot. Leaving Peaceful Bay, the tip doesn't bother me a whole lot. It's only for 5 minutes.
It doesn't bother me either, but it's more that I
it's-
think the beach could be more scenic.
I think you've got a lot more beach coming up though. So
That is true, but
yeah,
even
But
still.
I think because leaving Peaceful Bay, I'm fine going up. It's just when you cross over the bitumen road again, you're so close to the coast, you may as well just walk that long, boring section to the inlet on the beach and then have
Yeah.
a cut to where the track goes now. Because then at least, because it's like, it's half day, like 12, 13 kilometres until you actually hit the beach from Peaceful
there
Bay.
was a reason why, and I can't remember.
Because it looks wide enough that you could walk on it, though. That's the thing. And that grass is always long enough that you're conscious that you're going to step on a snake. That was my big thing. I was always looking down.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't change much apart from that small section. I would keep the showgrounds.
Yeah, I keep the showgrounds. I love the showgrounds, especially because it doesn't go on and on forever. It's just a relatively short.
It feels like
Bit
it goes on forever
Oh no,
sometimes.
I like it.
I like
like
it,
it.
and all the kangaroos and
I think it breaks up that day a bit too.
From the east side, because I remember the old alignment because we camped there because we didn't want to stay and pay money to stay in town because we were high school students. That we camped on the headland there just before it descends to the beach.
At the canoes, you mean, or where do you mean? Sorry.
So we were gonna stay at the canoes, but
Yes.
it was getting dark, and we ended up just staying on the dunes,
Okay.
closer to where the mouth is, because the track used to go closer that way. Because I know it wasn't that way when we were there last time. It didn't seem
There's been a bit of a realignment in the showgrounds. It wasn't massive. Though.
This is on the western side,
Ah.
because I think on the western
Yes.
side,
Yes. I know where you are now. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
that makes sense to make a choice at that point. Because I remember you could see the mouth, and if it was clear, you could have gone down, descend the dune, and go through there.
Yep.
But on the other side, that's a bit more of a problem, isn't it?
Yep. And the other thing too with that inlet, when it is flowing, it can be a bit more dangerous than some of the other inlets. So there is that consideration that, particularly people not used to the Bibbulmun or the WA coast or whatever that come from overseas, they might cross Tor Bay and especially Parry's, which is one of the easier inlets. And the Irwin Inlet, I've had a couple of times when I've tried to cross it, because I just wanted to see what it was like, because people keep saying just do that and don't worry about the canoes. It actually, it's almost, well, the couple of times I went through, I actually sank quite a bit into the sand. It was really soft sand. That took me by surprise. And it can flow pretty quick. So, yeah, that's just one of the other and that's why the canoes were put there in the first place. But I like the canoes. It's
Yeah,
part of
the
canoes are cool.
experience.
It's a good experience.
It's different, you know.
yeah, it's something.
So-
Yeah,
So the quorums. Has anyone changed the alignment along the beaches there?
I'd ban vehicles on those beaches.
Same.
I don't care.
That's controversial. But
This is my favorite day of the track, so very little do I want changed.
I've walked it a few times, and one time I walked it in the summer holidays after Christmas. And this is all being a bit churlish because, you know, in another reality, I may be someone who likes to drive on the beach. Who knows?
But I feel
In
like
fact, I do. I enjoy 4-wheel driving.
There you go.
But when I'm hiking, I don't want to see cars.
there's so many beaches down there. It feels like every beach has vehicle access.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the issue.
And I do feel like it's a problem in general with the south coast of the Bibbulmun is you don't feel like you're in the wild so much because of all the 4-wheel drive access.
So from the beaches, from the last one, I think it's Back Beach, and then you head inland. I would actually have that closer to the coast, just because it feels like you're a bit disconnected, and that's where a lot of the dune slogging comes into it.
Yeah.
And at the end of a very long day, there's not very much reward for the ups and the downs. And then an official trip up to Rope Hill would be really cool, because I don't think many people know that that's a spot you can go to.
Well, they probably know now because it's all written in the red books and
Yeah.
blogs. And
But then you're reading that as you've gone down the hill to Boat Harbour, and not many people after 25k's want to then hike back up.
Oh, I do.
But not
It's
everyone
worth it
is.
for the
I'll
sunset.
go down to the beach.
Yeah, me
Boat
too.
Harbour.
I'd go to Boat Harbour as well.
I do all of the above.
So Boat Harbour off to William Bay. Any changes?
More coastal walking, less inland dunes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also take it, the high point, I think it's hillier as you're getting towards Parry Beach. I would take it into that headland a bit more.
Yes,
That's
me
where
too.
I thought it was going to
Yep.
go.
And maybe even down onto Hillier Beach. Is that possible? I think that could work really well. And then around the headland, heading into Parry.
Yeah, just more connection with the coastline.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like that section from Point Hillier, or Mount Hillier, I should say, down to Parry Beach.
No,
It's-
no, I think
You
that
are
could be
tucked
improved.
away from the coast, and so better be nicer closer to the coast. But after that,
Does
love-
anyone go off Mazzoleti Beach?
No,
No, I
at all.
think you have to earn it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
but
would
however,
have-
at the end of Mazzoleti Beach, my dream would be you walk along the beach at Green's Pool, you walk around to Elephant Rocks, and then you walk up to William Bay campsite, up the hill on a single track, and pass by the amazing boulders.
That's where the William Bay circuit should be made.
But the Bibbulmun, you could take
But
it there.
definitely take the Bibbulmun
Yeah.
as far as Elephant Cove, and
Yeah.
then up Tower Hill from Elephant Cove, and don't even do that road walk.
And then severely enforce any cars or motorcycles going to the campsite.
Of course.
Why doesn't it officially keep going along the beach straight to Greens Pool and Elephant
I think
Rock?
it does now because last time I walked it,
There's a marker
I could be
there,
wrong, but
There are
But-
markers, but it's
But
not
there's an official beach
No,
exit, and the
it-
route and the
it's-
maps goes up.
It's because we're still waiting for the development to take place, because that whole area is going to be redeveloped in terms of the car park, and they want to redevelop it to make it safer. Because one of the issues is if there's a fire there's only one way in and out. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. But once that's finally designed, then the trail will go into Greens Pool as an option, anyway. If not nothing else.
it already
So-
does as an option, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and it is. But then leaving Greens Pool is the issue, because then you're just on the road
Yeah.
to get to the current.
That's why I
alignment.
reckon you should go to Elephant Cove and then up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. William Bay to Denmark. This has a lot of options you could take, but I actually would keep it as is.
There's not much I would change there at
I'd
all.
keep it except for the last 2Ks where it goes through the horrendous zigzagging through dieback infested stunted jarrah, sometimes burnt as well, just to add that extra ugliness there.
Where would you take it though?
I don't know, but the thing I wouldn't do is to have the trail go one way and then cross to the other side to the other parallel road and then walk back along the same
Yeah.
way, because that is cruel. That is absolute cruelty that the trail does that.
I would not change anything until where you said, where it goes to that weird scrappy jarrah area. I don't hate it as much as you do, but I'd just have it just continue along the inlet shoreline to the river mouth, like the actual river mouth, and then head into town on the spur trail. So I wouldn't even bother going away from the inlet shore.
I think part of the issue there is the public right of way or lack of it.
Oh yes, but this is the dream.
Absolutely. And you'd have to watch flooding there as well because the inlet can come up pretty high. But
Yeah.
it's nicer views.
Yeah. I would actually have the trailhead actually in town. I don't understand why.
I don't understand that either.
Because you have to get into town after 7 days anyway.
Yeah, I'd put the trailhead at Berridge Park in town.
So getting out of town, how's everyone tackling the age-old question of leaving Denmark?
So
Sounds tricky.
my view here is that if we can spend $14 million on a lookout, I think we can spend maybe $2 or $3 million to build. Isn't it even that? Is it like $1 million to build a bridge?
Should we just point out that this 14 million wasn't on the Bibbulmun Track? It was somewhere else.
On somewhere else. I mean, it was built on a lookout in Kalbarri, for those who know. But like the sheer amount of money spent on an over-engineered lookout when.
You don't even need a lookout there because
you
on
can
top
see
of
the
cliffs.
view.
You can see the view.
But the fact that we're like so stingy to spend money on kilometers of trail, I just go, well, just build a bridge, literally across the river, and then take us and follow the old Nullakai track that is sort of semi-official.
Sorry,
along
what bridge do you mean? Because there's
Across
already
the
a rail
sandbar.
bridge.
Yeah, so
down
near
at the sandbar.
the sandbar.
Oh no, what I'd say there. So you got to. Do you mean you have to backtrack
Well,
around?
because the sandbar is like a yes or no, I would have a bridge just before the river mouth that
Yeah.
can cross all the time, so you never have to
So
worry.
you're talking about the Wilson Inlet.
Yes.
You're not talking about the Denmark River. You're talking about the Wilson Inlet Channel. So what I'd do there is there's already a pontoon bridge at Prawn Rock Channel just before Ocean Beach. Why not have another similar thing? Because it goes across like an island type thing. Yeah, just have another pontoon bridge. And I don't understand why they don't do that, to be honest, because that seems like a simple solution. Do they want to make it so people always go into Denmark? Because I reckon if they had a bridge across the channel and just made it super easy to walk over the channel, a lot of people would skip Denmark.
It's a very long
Yeah,
way to be going from
you'd have
Walpole.
to.
I think you'd have to restock. And I mean, Collie has a spur in and out of town, and
Yeah, it's only a few kilometres.
yeah. But I mean, I don't think it doesn't feel that bad walking from there to town.
Because
No.
Nullakai is so close, though, that's the thing. If you then had to walk from Denmark, it actually makes it a proper day rather than being dropped off at Pelican Point or Eden Road.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be too much of an issue.
Hmm.
So if you get over the Wilson
I'd love to have a
Inlet-
bridge there.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why they can't have a bridge?
Money, probably.
You almost put like concrete pylons in that you just like use as stepping stones, so if the channel's closed.
That's a bit over-engineered.
Hmm.
No, I think a flying fox could be cool.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. But how long? I think the span is too long. But if we can engineer this,
So
Let
we've
it
all
have
got
so-
it going Wilson Inlet, Nullakai Peninsula.
I wouldn't head down to the ocean, the mouth of the inlet at all. I actually got it realigned completely, so it goes along the rail trail to Crusoe Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
it's not
you've got a
yeah.
government-funded ferry that runs every day.
what socialist utopia is this?
All those trail bikes that you got rid of have been crushed into boats.
Yeah, and all the fines from trespassing
That's
have
right.
funded.
Exactly right.
Or Queensland's paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. And the ferry goes across to, I think it's Nornalup Point actually, or something like that. So we're now much further to the east. And then you cut down towards Nap Head, bypassing Nullakai campsite entirely.
Yeah, that could be okay.
It is a mosquito-infested hellhole, so
Oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah, so that was one of my changes as well, is you actually go to Nap Head and follow
me
the
too.
coast, because there's a certain point from Nullakai to West Cape Howe, it shows you the ocean, and then it goes straight back inland.
I was actually going to say hit the coast before, as there's some amazing cliffs
yep.
that you could walk. You could potentially be walking along.
So the whole alignment here, I think, can go like it because the book like just like to tell you about how fantastic it is that you can see the Paronga Ups in Stirling Range. And I say, who cares?
Can you?
Because it's so
Yeah, you
far
can.
away. On some days you can, some days you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's so far away. It's not like, on the overland you pass a mountain and it's like, less than a kilometre away. This is so far
But
away.
what else can the book talk about? I think it's fine that the book mentions it.
The coastline that you're going to be walking along.
But it's just, exactly. It would be so much nicer if it was on the coast side rather than this side. Because I remember walking this day and just
I agree, but
hating it.
I don't begrudge the book from mentioning you can see the Paronga
Oh,
Ups.
of course not. But
Like,
I
what
feel
else are they gonna
I
say?
feel like it
But I
makes it the
agree.
feature of the day, and I'm like, and
No,
I'm
I
saying
think
this with
from-
all due respect because I'm sure Steve wrote this.
Actually, I borrowed that from the previous author.
No, I think the track should leave Nullakai and get to the coast as soon as possible. And there's those huge, massive cliffs that it should be going along. Because that is spectacular. That's what people want to walk along the south coast and see. Is those
I think that's
cliff-top views.
going to be a theme walking along this section is how good it could be. Because you get to West Cape Howe, and the campsite's well away from West Cape Howe, and then that whole next day you get nowhere near it.
Yep.
I think it should go all along West
I
Cape
think
Howe
it should
and come
go,
back.
yep.
Yep. So
And,
this is my biggest change was adding another day here.
Yeah.
And this is where the second enclosed hut is. The second enclosed hut is where there's that car park overlooking the cliffs. You completely close it to four-wheel drive access, and you find any four-wheel drive to try to get in there
And fund the hut.
and from the hut. And instead you have a hut that overlooks the cliffs.
That would be awesome. And you'd have to allow rock climbers to stay at the hut as well.
Oh yeah, and that would be fine. But you have to walk in. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but totally fine with rock climbers staying there because there's so many awesome things, and that would be cool. Like have a communal table there. It's a closed hut, so it's really windy, and you'd get to look at it. And it's this ferocious.
That would actually be really cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
as
think
a
maybe because it's a really cool rock climbing spot, it might be a bit sad to completely close all four-wheel drive access.
To that spot, so like
To-
they can because
Yeah.
there's so many other spots. You can build a car park. That's where that the roads have that T junction. You
Yeah.
could build it there,
Yeah,
and then
that's a
just
good
turn
idea.
that just to track, so that you have to walk because. And the thing is, rock climbers are prepared to walk a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah,
But I think 100% definitely follow the coastline of West Cape Howe 'cause it's fairly substantial. It's not like Long Point where you walk out and walk the same way. You'd walk along the west side on single trail. At the moment, like we've both walked out there before, and it's not the nicest walk because it's
Yep.
just on sandy, somewhat dangerous if it's busy four-wheel drive track. But if you had a single track instead, it would just be absolutely stunning. And that West Cape Howe cliffs are spectacular. It would be a highlight of the south coast
yep,
if there's a walking track out there. And then you could go to Torbay Head, the southernmost point.
Yep.
There's an existing campsite. There's a really nice, cute little beach just near Torbay Head. I was actually thinking you could have a campsite there, but I agree with your idea of a cliff-top hut. That would be cool. But if you didn't have that, you could have a tent camp.
My
near
initial
Dunsky
idea,
Beach.
and on the plans that I drew up on the website for something like this, I suggested a campsite at Dunsky, but then I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, it'd be even better.
It would be
if
so
you had
cool.
that there.
Yeah. And then continue along the steep coastline from Dunsky and down onto Shelley.
Yeah, I had a series of of stairs going down to Shelley so that you can keep dirt bikes from coming into there. But in Steve's Utopia, where they don't exist, we don't need to do that.
That's right. But you can still have stairs going down to Shelley anyway.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So from Dingo Beach, you could probably almost the same alignment
Oh, I
of the
wouldn't change
Torbay.
it too much.
Yeah, and then Cozy Corner, that
Yeah,
whole beach
fine with
section. I
Yeah,
would
it's
be
alright.
quite happy.
Yep.
I would change Mutton Bird Campsite. I'm not a big fan. I don't get why it's hidden. So if we have, and again,
I
a
think
Because otherwise
it's
you need a hut.
protected from the
Just build a
weather.
hut.
four-sided hut, because there is that full drive track you walk up, and you've got like views looking east towards the wind farm, and then views looking west towards West
Yeah.
Cape Howe. It's spectacular up there.
So I did this section in August 2012, and we really were very happy that it was in a sheltered bowl because of that. But yes, if we
you
have
get the mozzies and the millipedes as well
it is,
down there.
but if we had a hut, then
yeah, it'd be up in
See,
there.
I've never had a problem with either. Millipedes or
I-
mozzies at that one.
Mozzies, I got
Nullakai,
back.
yes.
Yeah, I've
but
had a
not
problem with
Muttonbird.
mozzies at Muttonbird,
Yeah, I
but
got
it's alright. I
back,
just had my tent.
And then we can probably all agree from Muttonbird to Sandpatch, keep that alignment through.
Yeah, I like
that.
it through there.
Very beautiful.
Yep.
Sandpatch to Albany, I think we're probably all going to go in one direction here, which is into Torndirrup National Park.
Correct.
Yes.
Well and truly.
Yeah. So this will add several days, I would think, to
Worth
the
it.
alignment. But you'd go basically straight along the coast. You'd go past the gap and the natural bridge, blowholes.
I
Beakhead,
envisage
Baldhead.
a campsite kind of in the sort of near Jimmy Newell's Harbour type area. And then, do a whole loop around that coastline. And I wouldn't say the track itself should go out to Bald Head, but that should definitely be a spur trail that you could do as an out and back in a day
Well, I had
from wherever the campsite
my
is.
campsite near Salmon Holes Beach up on the cliffs there, and then you could treat that as if you wanted to Bald Head, you go out and then back to the campsite and then continue along.
And then
I think
you'd go
that'd be cool.
past Whale World. It would bring business to Whale World.
Well, that's my thing was you end at Well World and that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Because
That's not the worst idea.
that's like, because that walking back then adds so much more time. I would rather
Yeah.
a bus trip there back to the start and just finish there and then get to see the best of, because the fact is at the moment is you're missing the best of Albany
Yeah.
because it's inconvenient to get back to town from there. And if we had that as the end or an alternate end, then that would be fine.
I don't like the idea of having alternate ends. I think you need a terminus at either end.
Sliding
'cause it's-
doors.
No, but it's like a sort of a really
You haven't
momentous thing. It
you
has
have
to be
not
one
heard my
common
idea
terminus.
yet, Don. I think I might change your mind with
Okay.
this. Okay, so from the whaling station, you keep going along, follow the coast, all the beaches there, out to Vancouver Peninsula.
Yep.
Point possession.
Point possession, do that trail.
And then
Then
have
this is where all the money comes into it.
Flying Fox.
You go under the harbour. So it's a glass or perspex tube that you then walk down a ladder. You go under the harbour. Now imagine a cruise ship or a container ship
Or a whale.
coming into port, and you're watching that from the bottom. And you
Going,
can
oh
see
my god, I hope it doesn't hit me. Yeah.
well, there'd be enough clearance, and then you'd go to it would come up the other side at King Point Lighthouse, and then you'd walk the trail up to the Anzac Centre, up to Mount Clarence, and then into Albany.
I had the same alignment, but I just had another ferry.
I really like this extraordinarily over-engineered solution.
But that would be probably a cheaper option than the $14 million thing they've just put
True,
out at
yes.
Calbarry. And
Yeah.
how cool would that be?
How much does the glass tunnel cost, I wonder?
Not that much, probably.
Probably
No, I
not.
think that's a really cool idea, but I was kind of wondering if that would be feasible to have the track go out along Point Possession, but I thought of having some sort of boat ride from Brambles Beach to to town. And I'd rather have a boat ride than a tunnel, to be honest. Being serious here is I'd rather see the views from...
The spectacle of being underwater, yet still walking
If
and
it
looking
was like
up.
a coral reef type area, but it's just like
Well,
a
you
murky
could put artificial
harbour.
reef either
Oh.
side.
No, you're not. No, I'm not sold.
I'm sold. This is right. Mark.
I
Yeah.
appreciate your
And
creativity
how
and
good
your
of a
vision.
spectacle would that be to finish the track with, or even start the track?
I also think that in your tunnel, since we're missing the Great Southern Distillery, there should be an underwater bar.
Yes. Yes, or even just put a campsite there as well. Stay underwater.
So we've got into the realm of science fiction now.
But we could a compromise
Could
between
happen.
the boat ferry thing and the tunnel. We could have a submarine ferry.
It'd probably be cheaper to
Yeah,
just
just have the permanent walk there, yeah. You could probably fund it with like the new wave energy thing they're trying to get going as well.
yeah. And the severe fines that I've put on all of the trespassing.
Exactly. I think it'll work. It'll work. So we just need Parks and Wildlife to come to the party here, or
So-
even the Albany Port
So
Authority.
after the Anzac Centre,
Yeah, after the Anzac Centre up to Mount Clarence, and then you can walk into town via Stirling Drive that way.
and where would you have the southern terminus?
Probably at where it's about to be located on York Street at the visitor centre there. So it's a fairly non-convoluted way actually to finish, and you get all the cool views of the harbour and everything from Mount Clarence.
There's a lot less going that way. There's a lot less walking through the suburbs. You know, that last bit, even when you leave the harbour and then going through all the burbs.
Yeah.
You know, and
I
then come
do.
back
The
down
one bit
hill
I
again.
do quite like is like I'm not a fan of the walk along Princess Royal Harbour because of the paved track. I'm not the biggest fan of that Mount Melville skirting the base of Mount Melville. But then once you're in town and you walk down the street and there's like the really nice old part of town, I enjoy that. And then down to the Amity, that's cool.
Yeah, I think Albany's got a cool character that walking through the suburbs isn't like walking through the suburbs of like a normal country town.
Yeah.
It's just, I agree that Mount Melville bit's a bit unnecessary.
Would you rather go up it rather than just skirt it?
Not at the
No.
end of that day. You just want to
Yeah.
get into Albany
After
and see
after
it.
the torment of the pavement.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, like you taking, like I took so many photos because I could see Albany, and it's like, well, where do I have to go up here? And then
Yeah,
I'd
but the very last bit down the streets, even though I say I don't like pavement walking.
which you'd get on the other side as well, because you'd come down the hill from Mount Clarence through there, so you'd get the same experience but underwater before then, and the Anzac Centre.
Yeah, I'm not sold on the underwater.
I'm 100% sold.
All right, so that is our Dream Bibbulmun over 2 pods and a couple, probably 3 or 4 hours now. If you're a billionaire or a multi-millionaire and you want to fund some of this, let Steve know at the foundation, and
Or
we'll
if
get it happening.
Even if you're just a government who wants to spend on trails rather than just lookouts, so that you get, you know, not just like a 50-meter walk to a place, but actually making a journey exciting, then please consider some of our ideas. Okay, thank you both to Bonny and Steve for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you.
I think your ideas were very interesting and informative. Thank you everyone for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode or any other episodes of the pod, please give us a rating on whatever platform you're currently listening to us on. Ratings really help us find an audience, so we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a rating. If you had any ideas for any other future episodes of the pod, you can email us at realtrailtalk@gmail.com. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.